What's up, guys? It's Rick Ginn with Flip with Rick, and it is February 9th, about 5 o'clock Eastern time. Yes, this is live, and this is going to be a very valuable live stream. So, if you've ever wondered about how a double closing works, and specifically a double closing where you don't have to bring funding to the table, I'm going to go into detail on when you use it, how you use it, the key players in it, and I'm going to share some tips and tricks on stuff I've learned over 20 years of doing this technique. It is a little bit more of an advanced technique, but it's something everyone should know. And really, it's just like another tool you can put in on your hip pocket in your arsenal. So here's what we're going to do. I've committed to 2 hours with you guys today. I love spending time on these lives. There's no better way to interact with you guys. So the more people that can join in the fun and ask questions. So that's how we learn. So if you put in questions, I'm going to involve you guys and ask for your input on more information you need on the double closings, particularly on the no funding deals. And what we'll do is we'll take the last hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, and we will just open it up to all questions, anything relating to wholesaling, honestly, anything relating to real estate. And the idea is just have fun. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Rick Ginn, aka Dad. I've been doing wholesaling for 20 years plus. Sorry about that. And I actually love this business. So I hope it comes through in my energy, my passion. I taught my son this business. He actually wanted to do it. I didn't push it on him like some people say. And he's been in the business now 5 years. And we've created this channel so we can share information on how to get you started in wholesaling to make 100K without spending a dime other than your attention time, your hustle, and your energy. Now, I will never ask you for a credit card. I do not pitch any courses. Some people think that's crazy. I just think times have changed. So when I started in 2002, we only had one way to do it. We paid $10,000 to $20,000. Someone would teach us some basic instructions about wholesaling, and then they were a hero. Well, I'm just telling you, the world has changed in 20 years. That's why you see courses at almost 70% cheaper now, and much more inexperienced people teaching it. So me and Zach bring you the best of both worlds. And here's my promise to you. I'm never going to hit you over the head with some sort of insane offer to teach you wholesaling, because it's like learning your ABCs. It's really, really simple. I love it. And the more people I can teach, the more my legacy grows, the more my son's legacy grows, to help out as many people as possible. If anybody has an issue with me helping you out for free, it's their problem. It's definitely not my problem. But listen, before we get started, let's get the energy level up. You guys know where I'm going with it. Let's jump into it. Let's get insane. Let's have some fun, man. Because if you don't have fun wholesaling, you can't be on my channel.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go. Get up, again, they got go. Time to wake up, bitch, get up. Get up, get up.
Whoa! I tell you what, man, I just love that video every time I see it. So it really kind of explains the craziness, the passion I bring to this business. I think so many people are so stiff and so boring when like teaching real estate in general. And honestly, I didn't get into wholesaling to like be boring and like just not have fun. Yes, I did it. The reason I'm in wholesaling, my why, I've told you all, it's all about freedom for me. Freedom to do whatever I want, freedom to financially make myself free, my family free, and everybody around me. And I have the freedom to come on here live with you guys and teach you something that everybody else says you have to pay a what do they call it? A skin in the game fee. So listen, it doesn't matter if I'm helping you out. Great. If you want to use a paid course, I'm fine with that too. I just think wholesaling is so basic. There's no more secrets in it. It's all out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in detail on the double closing with no funding, probably about like 30 minutes. And this will be recorded. Please don't fall asleep. I might throw in like a crazy video in the middle to make sure you guys are all awake. And guys, take this as a learning, because a lot of people act like this is like some like really private technique. You just need to understand the mechanics. And it's probably not going to start out doing these deals, but I promise you, when the opportunity comes up, you guys can use it. So it's smart to learn the technique. Guys, use the comments with the people in there. You guys can pair up together. You can work together. I love when you guys answer each other's questions, help each other out. If you don't have something positive to say, please don't put it in there, because it's just going to get wiped out. So we're all here to help. So I'm doing this on my own dime to help you guys out, because I truly love this business. So without further ado, let's dive into it, man. I love the comments already. Somebody asked, hey, Rick, did you catch any fish? I did catch some fish, and I plan on doing some more fishing this week because wholesaling gives me the freedom to do it. So let's get into it. The double close. So we're particularly talking about a double close with no funding. I know there's a million videos out there, but I'm going to get into the mechanics of it, and then I'm going to answer any detailed questions you have, and then we'll open it up. So let's talk about, why would you ever use a double closing? And you've got to understand the purpose of a double closing. A double closing is almost exactly what it implies. So I love when a description actually describes what it is. It is two closings, okay? Another term that's often mixed up with this, and theoretically is the same thing, is the word simultaneous closing, okay? The only catch on a simultaneous closing, it literally happens instantly back to back. A double closing, for the record, can close within 24 and sometimes 48 hours. A simultaneous closing is like an instant double closing. So if you hear these terminologies, they're technically the same. There is just a timestamp difference. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have a question about that, put it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer it. So the reason why most wholesalers use a double closing, it's twofold. Number one, sometimes you just have contracts that you cannot assign for one reason or another. Maybe the seller, like my cousin or my realtor told me not to sign it because that way you can't take advantage of me. Or you don't want your end buyer to see what your profit is. Now, my theory on that is, I don't think you should really hide it. I'm just telling you, they're going to find out eventually. So you might be hiding it temporarily, but you're going to get that phone call anyway. So if you're disclosing you're making a profit in your contracts, and by the way, there's a gazillion contracts out there, they're always being updated. They've got to be common sense. So the other reason you do a double closing is because, honestly, you're never going to be questioned if you're a principal in the transaction, because if you close on it, there is no interpretation. If you're doing real estate without a license, it doesn't matter. So most people do it because they don't want them to see their other, they don't want them to see your profit on it. So now, Rick, when should I switch to a double closing via or an assignment? I love assignments, guys. I'm telling you, if you're starting out, focus on assignments. That is the easiest and fastest way, as long as it's legal to do in your state, which it is. You just got to check if you're required to get a license. There's only 2 states. I'm not going into detail, but it's Illinois and Oklahoma. 2 states out of 48. You guys do the math. Yes, change is coming. I'm not here to talk about that today. So at what point do you think you should switch from an assignment to a double? So here's my theory on it. It really comes down to your seller. Don't let the number determine when you're going to do a double closing versus an assignment. I've done assignments for huge dollars. They're all legal, and they're actually on the HUD, and they're insured by the title insurance. So unless you are hiding something from your seller, or your seller's going to have a problem every now and then. Sometimes there's an attorney involved, there's another real estate agent, and it's best if you're making a large profit. Now, I will tell you this, anything 10 grand or less, you've got to do an assignment. You don't have room to do a double closing. Okay. So use that as your hard rule. If it's 10 grand or less, you have to do an assignment. From 10 to like 25 to 30, that's where people start to get a little wishy-washy. Like once they get like around 30, they're like, well, maybe I should do a double closing. Well, why would you consider that? They actually consider it as an insurance policy in case something comes up at the last minute. Maybe a attorney or a realtor pokes their nose in it, or maybe a family member is like digging deep into it, and you go, he's making a $30,000 profit of you. That's ridiculous. And that will put you in a really bad situation. And for that reason, people will do a double closing. It's going to cost you extra set of closing fees, but a lot of people looked at that as an insurance policy. So these are the reasons why you would do a double close, and it makes sense. The thing that completely stinks about double closings is it's 2 sets of transaction fees. And on average, a closing fee, remember, it's going to be vary from every state, anywhere from 1% to 2% of the cost of the real estate to close it. So in that instance, if I had a $100,000 property, say I'm buying it for $100,000, say it cost you $2,000 to close on it, and then say you're selling it for $150,000, it might cost you another $2,000. That's $4,000 out the window. So if you only had a $10,000 spread built into it, you wouldn't be making a lot of money. And for that reason, you would go to the assignment. So double closings are typically there to ensure your profit, to make sure nobody comes out of the woodwork. Or if you have someone that really has a problem with your profit level, these are the best ways to do it. I always feel honesty is the best policy. If you're upfront and they know what you're doing, most sellers just don't care. Now, I will tell you, when you get north of like 50 grand, I would just, if there's any hint of any risk in the transaction, I would do the double closing, because it's a minor insurance policy and nobody can ever come back and claim anything because you were on title. Once you're on title and then you resell it, nobody can ever question your rights on it. So in the future, a lot of wholesaling will wind up having a lot of double closing, and I think you're going to see a lot of changes down the road. I don't really see any changes over the next 2 or 3 years other than some legislation, so I wouldn't spend energy on it. So you need to know when to use this tool in your arsenal and not just randomly use it, okay? Big profits, any question marks at closing. Sometimes you just have, sometimes the husband's on board and the sister is not, or the wife, and there's all sorts of things that can happen. And, or sometimes, it's a 6-figure deal. And in that instance, I would always double close because it's not worth risking it at the closing. So let's talk about the 2 key players for a no funding double closings. So nobody talks about this, and I don't know why. So the 2 most important people, actually, I'm switching over the comments right now. If you guys can put it in there, and I'm going to wait a minute. Who do you think the 2 most important people are in a no funding double closing? Go ahead and put it in the comments now. And I'm going to see if you guys know the answer. And I'm going to look through a couple questions real quick. I'm going to wait for that because I want you guys to be involved in this. Like sometimes these teachings are like boring, and I know it. So I try to make it fun, entertaining. I'm telling you, if you guys learn this technique, you will be amazed at how much money you can make in wholesaling. So who do you think the 2 biggest key players are in a double closing with no funding? And you'll be surprised with the answer. So, California says cash and escrow company, seller and buyer. So KG hit it right on the head. Awesome job. I'm giving you a thumbs up. So guys, if you like KG's answer, give me some thumbs up. Give me some love. We want to share this channel with as many people as possible. I'm on 2 hours, man. Help me out. KG, you are correct. And you guys need to understand this. It's very, very important. Okay. I'm going to go through it. Awesome job, KG. I'm now he's burnt my brain because he's a smart guy. So great answers. So the idea is here is I want everyone to learn. So number 1, okay, it is the title company. You cannot do these types of deals without a good title company. Rick, what's a good title company? It's a title company that you've got to know that is not a huge, giant title company. I would avoid them like the plague because they're probably never going to do this. And you have a history with them, like they know you. Like, so if KG's working with a title company, you know the principal owner, and you've maybe done a few deals. It's really helpful if you do a few deals, and it helps a lot. I'm going to walk you through the details of it and show you how to vet your title companies and the key questions to ask. The other one is right on the end buyer. It is the cash buyer, because you can only do these types of deals with a cash buyer. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot do a double closing with no funding with a conventional buyer of any sort or nature. They will never let it happen. There's typically going to be seasoning requirements, a minimum of 91 days to 1 year. And for that reason, you will be completely taken out on the deal. So, title company and cash buyer, you've got to understand how these two parties affect these types of transactions. So, let's talk specifically first on the title company on how to do a no funding double closings. So, guys, this is a lot of information. Don't worry, this is recorded. You can come back and watch it. I will try to keep this as exciting as possible, but this is the mechanics, and it's important to know it. So there's rules to this. So once you've established a title company will work with you, and like they're open to doing assignment agreements, and that's a great start, then you've got to dig a little bit further. I promise you they will not do this technique if they don't know you and you have not proven trustworthy, because they are on the line when they do these deals. You have got to follow through. There's a lot of trust in these deals. So it makes sense they want to do it with reputable wholesalers. So you have to establish that first. So you've vetted your title company through the traditional way. I did an entire video. Go back and refer on this. I will try to put it somewhere in the notes. I'll have Zach help me out do it. And you can watch that video, and it teaches you how to vet your title companies to work with you to do assignment agreements. Once they'll do assignment agreements, then you can teach them how to do the double closings, and then you'll teach them how to do double closings with no funding. So, number one, the title company must allow for the closings to happen in escrow. Escrow is nothing more than a fancy word for trust, okay? So they got to trust you. You're going to manage the cash buyer. So that's really a non-part of this at this point. But the buyer is going to have to trust the process of the title company. So what happens is, say I go to a closing, we do a closing, and when you close it in escrow, it means you do the mechanics. You do all the signatures. Basically, closing in escrow is doing everything except the final funding. I do this all the time, guys, because I don't go to closings. Nobody in my company does unless there's a major issue at the last minute. So we pre-sign. I typically sign a closing just for my closings 5 to 7 days ahead of time. We have no surprises. We're set to go. This is a normal part of my operations. And if you guys aren't doing this, you should think about doing it. Okay. So closing in escrow just means they do all the paperwork without the funding. The title company has to have a lot of confidence in you, because you are going to have to at one point bring the funds due to get this deal closed. It is a disaster if you don't show up with funding. So this is not something you take lightly and do recklessly, okay? You have to have high confidence. I'm going to show you how to have a high confidence in it, okay? Now, what happens is title companies use like fancy terminologies. All title companies use different terminology. On the HUD, the title companies I mostly work with, when they fund these types of deals, okay, they will call it acquisition funding. So this is a key term that is used in double closing with no funding. Not all title companies are going to be familiar with this. Typically in the Southeast and in Florida, I'm very familiar with this. They use this acronym called acquisitions funding. That's just a fancy word for a double closing with no funding. So you can test your title company out with that terminology and see if it works. It works with my title company. Sometimes they're confused when I tell them that. I'm giving you an advanced word. Do not abuse it. Okay. So the next step is they have to be okay with preparing a pre-release of escrow deposit for both parties. This is just a fancy word for a cash buyer putting his deposit in escrow And then he or she has X amount of days to perform on the contract, put their money in escrow. And if they don't, you, the wholesaler, keeps that deposit fee. Now, how escrow normally works, if one party doesn't perform or there's a dispute, that money, the escrow company is neutral. They don't get involved. So if both parties don't agree to release the money, they actually send that money off. Depends on what state you're in. They'll send it to the state. Sometimes they send it to the state court system, and then you have to battle out in court. And depending on what contract you do, if there's mediation required, it's a mess. Okay. I have multiple deals tied up in escrow. So like, give me an example. If you're going to buy my house and you back out of the contract after the inspection period and you left $1,000 earnest money deposit, and I said, well, that's fine. Well, we're going to liquidate that for damages because you didn't follow through as a cash deal. You actually have to get permission from the buyer to release it. They just don't give the money back automatically. Just so you know, earnest money deposit in escrow is not a non-refundable unless you do this. So by signing a consent form, and there's no one consent form that fits all title companies, you're better off having your title company preparing it instead of me giving you bad legal advice. It basically says in the event that either party does not perform, that the money will be used as liquid damages and both parties agree to release all claims and the title company for it. So in the event your in-cash buyer does not send through the final money, you keep that deposit as liquidated damages and you don't need the buyer's permission. It is brutally important. Now I'm going to disclose this for you. Some title companies don't like this, okay? Because they go, well, you know, it's we hold harm. They're still somewhat responsible. So I know the owners of title companies, they've got to be comfortable doing it without this key clause, a pre-release escrow deposit. It's very challenging to do these deals. You need to know that your end buyer has pain if they do not follow through. Okay. So we've talked about closing an escrow, using words, acquisition funding. A lot of times they put on a line item on a HUD. I'm not even going to tell you what number it is because they constantly move it around. And these pre-release forms are important. I suggest you not telling them what to put, just tell them what you want. Basically says if my buyer does not perform, that he automatically releases the funds to my company for liquidated damages. If they pre-sign that and they don't perform, you're good. Like it's your money. You don't have to fight it in court. You don't have to get an attorney. This is a key to a double closing with no funding. Okay. Now you all say, well, Rick, the double the fees and the closings. Are you kidding me? I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay it either. I'm going to let you in a little dirty secret on how this works. Okay. I've done thousands and thousands of transactions with title companies, and I'm going to let you know a little bit of secret on this. Okay. If you don't ask for stuff, you do not get it. Okay. Let me repeat this. If you do not ask, you will not get it. Okay. Title companies, I have good friends that run title companies, but if you are naive and you do not ask or request certain things, they're just going to charge you full retail price. Because you got to understand, the average person that goes to a title company buys 1 or 2 properties their entire life, maybe 3, and they're not familiar with any of the fees. So if you're doing assignments, you should be brutally aware of what your closing costs are, title insurance, and all that stuff. So here's the secret, guys. Number 1, you're going to ask your title company upon the second closing of your double closing with no funding involved, you're going to ask for a reissue credit of title insurance. Okay. Write the word down. It's on the screen. So I know in my state of Florida, it is required by law to offer a reissue credit on title insurance. So, and they have to give you so you can usually go online and figure out what title insurance costs in your state. So I think it's like 70 cents per thousand. No, that's the doc stamps. I apologize. So like we just did a $250,000 house. I think the title insurance was just like under $3,000. So when I go to so that's A to B, I go to B to C and it should be half that price. So a reissue credit is anywhere from 50 to a 60% discount. Guys, it's huge. And if you don't ask for it, I found out for 4 years, I was being charged for this and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I was in shock because nobody ever taught me this. So ask for a reissue credit. It will lower your closing fees significantly. It is important. And most states by law have to make you aware of it. Now, some title companies will not offer this because it's a huge profit center. By the way, the biggest profit center for most title company is the title insurance. Okay. So keep in mind, they just wrote you a title policy 5 minutes ago and they're going to write one another again. What do you think happened in that house in the last 5 minutes? Nothing. So it should get a substantial discount. By the way, if you buy a property, say you're a fix and flip guy, which I'm not here to do that show. That's another show. If you resell that property, I believe within 1 year without any title changes, you get this discount as well too. The minute you change the title, you do a change of deed, a quick claim or anything like that, you are no longer, the reissue credit is not available to you. So this is a significant discount, guys. This can take like $1,500 off your second closing. That's number one. So we're all complaining about like the double fees. I'm showing you how it's going to be just a little bit more than one closing. And at the end, I'm going to show you how it's actually not even the cost of more than one closing with one simple phrase. So the next one is discounted double closing fees. I don't know about you, man, but if I'm doubling your title business and I'm doing two instead of one, I actually demand, let's just be brutally honest, I expect a huge discount. If you guys are not getting discounts on these types of deals, honestly, even if you buy one and say you're doing a light fix and flip and you sell it a month or two later, I still demand a discounted closing fee. So there's always a closing cost. That's the fee the company is going to charge you to close the transaction. The typical fee is anywhere from $300 to $800. I know there's a lot of miscellaneous fees. Let's just call it $1,000. If I do a closing like within a reasonable time, especially within a day or two, I expect a huge discount. If you guys aren't asking for it, they're not going to give it to you. So now you can cut your closing fee in half. I actually have companies that actually charge me $100 to do the second one. Okay. Why? Because I do a lot of business with them. You guys can make the same demands. If you're going to take one transaction and turn it to two, please minimize your costs. Okay. Don't just roll over and take it, just ask. And if not, shop it around. Now, it's critical you take the exact same closing back to the same title company. You can't take it to another one and ask for these discounts. You can get a reissue credit on title insurance anywhere you go as long as you have the title policy, but I would use the same company in-house. It goes very fast and it's doable. So now we've taken the two closing costs and you're really like, now we're making it much, much cheaper just by using these two tactics right here with the title company. Okay. Now, let me see what am I missing on the title company? Release of escrow issue. And so what's going to happen now is your title company, they have to be okay. It is perfectly legal to have your cash buyer obviously they put their deposit in there. But now I'm going to go over on the cash buyer side and show you how this works with the title company. And then we're going to tie this all together. I promise. Stay awake. It's boring. I know, but like we have to do this. And then we'll go back to finding motivated sellers, which is what we need to be spending the most time on. So let's talk about the cash buyer side. Okay. Here's the most important term you need to understand. It's cash. Do not try this with conventional. It will never work. I'm just telling you, we're going to hit a roadblock. When I first started, we could actually do this. That's how old I am. But I'm telling you, you can't do it anymore. So cash only is key with your cash buyers. So if you're new to this channel and you're new to wholesaling, do me a favor, go to freewholesaling.com. I'm going to put it up here while I'm doing this. I think it's important you guys, let's see here. I'm going to put it up here so you know how to do it. And I teach entirely how to vet your cash buyers. If you Google on YouTube, you will find my cash buyer vetting video. And I give you 20 years of all my mistakes and everything I've done with a cash buyer. And you can learn from it and you can start like way ahead of the game. So cash only. Okay. Go to freewholesaling.com. You need a cash buyer. Number two, I don't know why everybody, if you have a difficult cash buyer, Don't use them. I'm just telling you, because they're going to fight the title company. They're going to try to push they're going to try to push all the deadlines and stuff. I do not use difficult cash buyers for double closings of no funding, meaning I'm using their money to fund it. Okay. Here's what I'll do with that buyer. You know what I'll do? I'll close it. I'll either use my money, or if you guys got to use hard money, soft money, or transactional funding, and I'll charge them another 5 or 10 grand. I'm going to call it the difficult cash buyer premium. And they have to conform to me because I'm the only person they have to deal with. So if you have a difficult cash buyer, just jack your price up and understanding they're probably going to fund it like a week or two later. It's just how it's going to work. I've never had a difficult cash buyer work with a double closing with no funding. Okay. So here's a key one. You ready for this? They must fund the entire transaction at least 48 hours in escrow prior to closing. I'm telling you, well, Rick, why do they have to do that? I am not going to sit here and lose sleep. The deposit's one thing, guys. Okay. I'll talk about the deposit at the end, actually right up after this slide. What happens is, why do they have to do it 48 hours? Why not the day of closing? Well, what happens if they don't fund it? What are you going to do? You're screwed. Like you're done. I actually requested 72 hours, but do not do less than 48 hours. That's the only time I've ever had a problem. Yes, you get to keep the deposit if they pre-signed the release form with the title company, but that still doesn't fix your issue of funding the deal. If I have 48 or 72 hours, worst case scenario, I can go back to the seller. I can negotiate an extension. I can give them a few more dollars to keep it going. I can find another buyer, or I can find my own type of funding to get that deal, either with private money, soft money, transactional, like whatever you need to do. The problem is, if your closing date is the 30th and you wait for them to fund it on the 30th, and say somebody gets in a car accident or God forbid something, and I don't want that to happen to anyone, but I've had this happen to me. And at the end of the day, the seller and the title company is coming to you to get this deal done. If you screw up one of these deals, they'll never let you do one again. I guarantee you. Okay. You have to make sure that they can fund this deal. And this is why you need a cooperative cash buyer. So say they put down a $5,000 deposit on a $100,000 purchase from you. And then what happens is, if I'm closed on the 30th, by the 28th, they've got to put that other $95,000 in escrow to make sure that once that money's in there, dude, the deal is done. Because remember, you've already pre-signed everything in escrow. You are good to go. I'm going to give you a diagram at the end of this and show you how this all ties together. Okay. Obviously, the buyer must pre-sign the release of earnest money. So in the event that they do not follow through, you do not have to chase them down for their permission to get your liquidated damages, and it gives you time to move forward. Now, let's talk about the deposit. Okay. This is the one argument where skin in the game works. When we're talking about actual real estate, we're not talking about courses. Okay. Skin in the game on a buyer is everything, because I want to make sure they follow through. I would never do less than 5%, and 10% is what I want, because these types of transactions, the seller's relying on you, the title company's relying on you. And honestly, if you personally don't have the funding set up, which I believe you really should, that's just my personal belief, I would get 10%. You know why? Because I guarantee you, if they leave you 5 to 10%, you have a 95% probability of them following through. You leave 1,000, 2,000, it's 50-50. How do I know this? I'm telling you this from experience. Get a sizable deposit. Make sure they sign the pre-release. That makes it non-refundable. The money goes in escrow. They feel safe with it. And honestly, if they don't want to do it, they are not your buyer. Like, they just saved you hours of work. Run with it, enjoy it, and go from there. So now that we've done that, I want you to understand this. This is huge, guys. Okay. I'm just telling you, nobody ever talks about in the video. And I'm almost like scared to even share this little secret. I'm going to share it with you. Ready? Give me a couple thumbs up so I can do this. And then I tell you what, I see some of you like falling asleep. I'm going to wake you up right now.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
Okay, see, I got to do a little shock and awe to kind of keep you guys going here. So here's the key, guys. Okay, this is really cool. We keep talking about the double cost of a closing, and I don't understand why more people don't teach this technique. The problem is you got to do a lot of real estate to understand this. This took me probably 10 years to really grasp this concept. Okay, what do you tell you everything about real estate, specifically in wholesaling? Everything's negotiable. I repeat, everything is negotiable. How is it some people we pay for all their closing costs and some of them we pay for none? Why? Because when we get really good deals, we're more implied to help them out with all the numbers. Because if I'm making a $50,000 profit, do you think I care about 2 or 3 grand in closing costs? I don't. Now, in a double closing, especially if you're doing one with no funding, meaning you're using your end buyers, is obviously you are going to eat the first closing cost. There is no way around this, guys. Okay. You can technically ask for it, but the odds are. Now, the reality is you've already asked for the title reissue credit from the title company, and you've asked for the discounted second closing fee. I always, and I repeat to this, whenever I do a double closing of any capacity, my end buyer pays the closing cost. Why not? Think about this for a second, guys. When you do assignments, who pays for the closing costs? That's right. Your cash buyer pays for it. It's no different in double closing. So all these people running around telling you, well, double closing is going to kill you. It's going to kill you. It's only going to kill you if you let it kill you. I always pass this cost off to the end buyer. Yes, I'm using their funds to fund the entire deal. Honestly, they're always very happy to get the deals. And if you're really good, I mean really good, like negotiator talker, you can actually add the cost of the first closing in the deal in your profit, and technically you pay no closing costs, just like an assignment. Now, guys, this is a little bit more of an advanced strategy. I get it, but the more you could understand it and the more you can find the title company to work this in, amazing things can happen. So here's what I want to do. Let's walk through a flow chart, and then I promise you, we are going to do the questions. Let me get this off the screen so we can have complete clean screens here. Let's see here. Okay. So I'm going to give you a flow chart. I'm going to take my mug off here, okay. I think you guys see that there. So here's what happens. So you got the seller, the wholesaler, and the end buyer. Now keep in mind, the title company is the one who's making the whole flow work. So step one is there is a contract created. We call the A to B just because it's really simple and it's been around forever. The wholesaler and the seller agree to a contract price. I give an example of $70,000. Sounds really simple, right? That's the first step. You all know how to do that. If not, go to freewholesaling.com. We teach you how to do it. The next step is very, very simple. Is the wholesaler then goes out and finds a cash buyer, and this is called the B2C contract. Now, guys, keep in mind, this is not doing an assignment. Okay, this is putting 2 closings in one big transaction. The wholesaler finds a cash buyer that is cooperative, that will leave a sizable deposit and sign a pre-release escrow form from the title company. And in the event they don't close, you keep the deposit as liquidated damages without a fight. Okay. Then what happens is you say, listen, I have this deal. Here's the catch is you have to fund the deal 48 hours before the closing. We just want to make sure you have the money in hand, and it's really that simple. That's the explanation you use. If you want to tell them they're funding the whole deal, who cares? Like, who cares where the money goes from? The disclosure really comes down to the deposit and their ability to fund the deal, the escrow balance 48 hours to 72 hours in advance. I never wait till the last minute. If you're going to wait till like that day, like a lot of things can happen. I've had wires like disappear. I lost a wire once for 9 days. 9 days, guys. This stuff can happen. Computer errors can happen. Sometimes the banks will, if you don't do a lot of wires and they don't see that kind of flow coming out of someone's account, they'll red flag it and they'll stop the wire. This is why it's critical they fund it 48 hours. So here's the key in how it works. Very simple is now that end buyer, so they theoretically $100,000 in escrow 48 hours ahead of time. You bought it for $70,000, so they're going to fund your $30,000 profit. Yes, you're going to have some closing costs on the first side, not the second side. And then the $70,000 is funded from the end cash buyer, is going to go to the seller, and it is a perfect transaction. The key is you have to have a really good title company, and you have to have an educated cash buyer that understands they have to fund it ahead of time, and they have to sign a pre-release form. Guys, I'm going to leave this up just for about like 30 more seconds. So you can have it, you can refer to it, you can screenshot it, whatever. This is how a double closing with no funding from you, and it comes from your end buyer. Not every transaction fits this mold. Do not try to force this on transactions at work. If you have a difficult cash buyer, you probably shouldn't be working with them anyways, in my opinion, but that's just my theory. And that's it, guys. This is the double closing with no funding. I'm going to take questions. So if you don't ask me questions on this, you're missing out. This is your ability to do a free mastermind. And by the way, guys, I normally do this Friday. We did a little swap-a-rooney because I got a conflict of schedule. So Zach will be coming to you Friday, and me and Zach will be on tomorrow. So you're not missing out on anything. This isn't Friday. It is Wednesday, February 9th, 5:41. Is it 5:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to ask if it's live, you guys should always ask if it's live, because if someone says it live, it should be live. So I'm all about authenticity, and like having fun. So let's dive into the comments. What's up, Sean? How you doing? Let's see here. Okay. Why? I think I did it backwards. Sorry, Sean. You just put it in. So, so we've established the title company and the cash buyer are the two most important parties to do a deal like this. By the way, this should have zero effect on your seller. Your seller honestly won't even know that it happened. So, so Kenneth puts a big one up here. Talk about wet funds, or like it's just, so there's a lot of like slippery terms. Like, do not use the word wet funds around title company, because they're going to think, what do they call it? When you do stuff like that, it really red flags it. It sounds a little bit like they don't like that type of terminology. So I'm actually going to do an entire live very shortly. I'll do a video with it too, on terms you should never, ever, ever use in the presence of an attorney or a title company, because it's going to get you red flagged instantly. And there's so many going out there right now, because they are not correct terms, and they will like flag you immediately. So good job on. So you hear wet funds, that's kind of like a slippery word, and you do not want to use that with your title company. What's up, MJ? How you doing? Okay, let's get down to it. Let's start out. MJ says here, Rick, how many days would you recommend for an inspection period? The seller's asking for 10, but I don't think that's long enough. So it just depends on the market and your experience. MJ, listen, if you get a really good deal, I've done 0. Like when you know you're getting something 40, 50 cents on the dollar, and that's a sticking point for them, then I'll go 0. But I've been doing this 20 years. So my recommendation is try to get as much time as you can get from the seller that makes you comfortable. Understanding you have an obligation to that homeowner. Please don't write contracts that you do not think you can fulfill, or you think you're overpaying, because if you think you're overpaying, I guarantee you're overpaying. So the thing is, if you're only going to get 10 days, you need to get to work. So if you have an established cash buyer base and you're comfortable with it, and it's an area you've done other assignments on, then go for it. If that gets the deal done and there's plenty of profit in it, shoot. Somebody asked me, what's your longest inspection period? I did once 9 months. There was a lot of underlying conditions, but everything's open to negotiation, guys. There is no set rule. The more, the merrier, but you got to be ethical about this stuff. You don't want to drag if they want to be out of their house in like 30 days, you can't do a 30-day inspection period, because like they expect you to close. So I get a lot of deals because I have uneducated wholesalers that put on ridiculous 90-day inspection periods, and it doesn't help out the homeowner. So just be fair about it. and just use your best judgment on it. But like, you got to leave yourself some room. So here's my theory on it. If they are squeezing me on price, but I want it because I know I can flip it, but I know the margin's less than I want, I will go with a greater inspection period because I want to come in and find. So if I know the AC is bad and the roof's bad and they're like, no, it's fine, I'll either bring in an inspector, I'll bring in my partner, AKA Zach, and we'll say, listen, the AC shot, the roof shot, that's $35,000. I have to renegotiate. Once I have it under, but like, I'm only going to do it when they just, you know how people like, they just deny everything. Like, I can look at a house and tell, like, when you walk in a house, you're completely sweating. You walk out, you look at the compressor, it looks like it's rotting from rust. And then you open the door for the air handler and it's completely covered in mold. I know it's a bad AC system. Just because you hit the power button and it spins doesn't make it good. In Florida, it's between $5,000 and $7,000 for your average AC system. Average, not like high end, average. So I kind of figured out my pricing. If they are, no, it's good. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll send an electrician or an AC guy, someone I do business. They'll go by and inspect it for me for free. And he'll say in 2 seconds, he goes, that thing's bad, get rid of it. I go, how much for a new one? Right in front of him. He'll go, I don't know, $7,000. So then they're forced to either renegotiate with me or I get out of the contract. I don't like playing that game, but that's the game of real estate investing. And sometimes sellers just don't tell you the truth. And a rare occasion, they tell you everything is wrong, but for the most part, they're not going to admit to it. And if they don't, you can use that strategy. So, let's see here. Okay. So A Spare asked, do I need to be an LLC to do an acquisition funding? No. The thing is, you have to make sure your end buyer has the funding to get the deal done. So they don't care if you're an entity or just a regular person. I prefer you do everything in its own entity, but no, that's definitely not a requirement at all. So awesome. Italian Ranger, thank you for helping answer questions in the comments here. So Supreme Genies asks, how do I start? Really, really simple. Go to freewholesaling.com. And if you guys want to learn how we get our list, I just did a massive list with listrei.com, and I'll share the results with you when it comes out. And if you want to get a free trial version, a 7-day, we use PropStream. If you use listrei.com, we provide the 7 days free, and we also provide training for you. I love it. We also use, what is it? So I don't own these companies, guys. So I actually use companies that actually help me make business in my wholesaling business. We also use Batch. And if you use the code Zach, you get 50% off on that. Each to his own. PropStream's great. If you're just getting started, you get 10,000 leads and you're on somewhat of a budget. It's probably the most comprehensive. If you guys want to do a little bit more advanced with skip tracing, a little bit more organized, Batch might be your better fit. But the best thing to do is try them out and see what the best fit is on it for you. You don't even need those technically, to be fair with you. And I don't own either company. I don't have stock in them. We just use them. So for full record, we pay a subscription to these services and we've been using them for years. So I know what I'm talking about. Zach has a lot of experience in it. And honestly, the old days we used List Source with CoreLogic, and it was brutally, it was 15 cents a lead. So you do the math. So I'm with you, Brandon. I appreciate it. So I think we answered. Sabrina said you need a company and an attorney. Technically, no, but if you're in a state that requires an attorney at the closing, you'll have to just review that with your title company. So, Plug Me likes the difficult cash buyer premium. Guys, I'm a businessman, and you need to be a businessman or woman. If somebody's difficult, if you want to continue to work with them, which my suggestion is just move on to the next person. Because either they'll go away and leave you alone, or they'll sit and hover in the background and go, okay, how can I do business with Rick or Zach? I go, you either conform to what we're offering. There's very few properties out there, but I've been saying this for 20 years. Very few good deals like we do in wholesaling. So either pay my price and do my title company, or you come back around and a week or two later, I'm just going to raise the price on you. And that's what I do. And I've had them pay the price over and over. By the way, guys, never, ever, ever negotiate your title company. Do not ever take it away from your title company. I've tried this multiple times. It is a disaster in the making. You have no control, you have no input, and I would never, ever do it. Some of you get tempted by the guy or girl goes, hey, tell you what, Rick, if I pay your $200,000 price for the house, here's the deal. I'll do it, but we have to do it through my title company. And I've said yes a few times early in my career, and they all ended in disaster. So they just try to change the rules. They manipulate everything, and that title company is fighting for them and not you. So, okay, guys, let's keep going. So this is your questions. I'm ripping through them. I love all the. so this stuff cracks me up. So, Kip, I hope you're getting value out of this. So, guys, we do this 100% free. There's two types of fees you pay. Okay. And this is generally in life. Number one is your time, the most valuable currency you have. By spending it here with me and giving me a thumbs up and telling me, hey, we really enjoy your content, knowing I'm not going to go in your pocketbook at all or in your wallet, should rest assure you that you can watch this stream safely without some ridiculous offer coming over to you to learn how to wholesale. I'm telling you guys, at freewholesaling.com is the most comprehensive wholesaling course out there, and it's 100% free. I don't know why this ticks people off. Well, I know why. I'm just not going to say it publicly, but like, who cares? I'm just trying to help people out. What I do with my time is none of your business. And if it hurts your business model, then maybe you need to kind of join the wave or find a new way of doing business. The world is going to change rapidly. Us using models from 2002, 2003 to sell wholesaling courses, I just think things have changed. So you guys make the ultimate decision about who you invest your time with. And I appreciate every minute you spend with me and my son. And number two, by sharing this channel. As many times you can share, as you can hit that subscribe button, you can hit that like button. It helps the algorithm. I can barely even pronounce the word, to share it with people that have common interests like you and me. So if you're frustrated with all this, like I got to go through an interview to find out if I qualify for the course, I'm going to let you know a little secret. If you have a credit card, you qualify. So I'm not going to walk you through that stuff. If you want to do it, knock yourself out. But I just believe we've come to a world of being beat over the head through these slick salespeople and everything like that. Let's just be authentic. Let's do business with people that you want to be like, and let's be transparent. Honestly, if you got a $10,000 course, just put it up in the right-hand side. It's $10,000. I don't need somebody talking me into it. And I just feel like that worked in the early 2000s. But I think the internet, and especially YouTube, Facebook, all the social media has changed how we do it. I think people are looking for authenticity and transparency, and that's my move. And if it fits you, great. If not, you have the freedom to go wherever you want, and that's the beauty of it. So Cameron asks, how does insurance and taxes work on a seller financing deal? The exact same. There's no real difference. I understand the PITI, which is principal, interest, and tax insurance on a sub 2. But if I agree to the terms through seller finance, they still own the deed. How do I pay insurance and tax? So technically, if you do seller finance, this is typically a person that owns a property outright, is they actually record a mortgage. So it actually acts just as if you got like a bank mortgage. So if you do that, the deed will be recorded in your new entity's name or your name. And then the insurance and tax, the county is going to calculate the tax. They don't care how you bought it or what insurance company you use. And then insurance is going to underwrite the house. So in essence, Cameron, it's the exact same as if you bought a regular piece of property. So especially when you change the deed. So good questions. I love it, man. What's up, Steven? Clearwater, just across the pond. So I spent some time in Tampa in my college days, but we were not going to talk about that today. I could do an entire show on that. What college never did for me. It never taught me how to make money in real estate and become like completely free. So, but I still love the West Coast. I love Clearwater. You guys got some amazing beaches over there. So Come on, guys, help me out with a few likes, man. I don't like Zach's like, Rick, you got to get more likes. I'm like, they just got to like the comments. So I got somebody up there with a frowny, like crying face. I don't know what that's about. If you're that upset, like you can go pay someone for the information. So King asked, is there an advantage to doing the double close? Here's what I want you to do. Rewind to the beginning of the show, and I explain why we use double closings. The main reason people do it is to ensure a large profit amount, or they don't want to disclose what their fee is on the deal. I got mixed feelings about that because I feel like, honestly, they're going to find out anyway. So if you think you're hiding something, you're typically not. So just, there's legally nothing they do it, but I don't want anyone ever yelling at me after the fact. So, I think honesty is always the best policy, but sometimes there's certain situations where you have to do it. There's no other way to do it. So, Liz says, hey, have you caught a live today? I have at 5:56 on 2/9. Guys, this stuff's live, and I appreciate you checking me on it, and you can check everybody else on it because I think we had a period where everybody was doing lives and there were just like recordings going over and over, and you guys figured it out in the comments. So I am paying attention to you, and I appreciate you. So, so Stephen, actually, if you go back to the recorded part of this, I tell you, a lot of it's personal choice. If you're making if there's only a $10,000 spread, you have to do an assignment because there's just going to be no money left in the end of it. From 10 grand to like 50 is like the gray area. Anything north of 50, 75, I strongly recommend doing a double closing. It's just, when you get in big numbers, you don't want anything to happen. So sometimes double closing, if you guys would just look at it as an insurance policy and understand the second closing is typically paid by the end buyer that's funding the deal, you're really not paying more than one closing cost. So this argument on like, you got twice the cost, it's inaccurate. Guys, I've done this business for 20 years. That is a flat out lie. And if you're doing it that way, you need to get educated on how to make your cash buyer pay those closing fees. And remember, you're giving them the discounted fees. They're getting the 50% off on the title insurance, and they're getting the pre-negotiated cash buyer's second close fee. So in essence, they're probably paying less than 1% of the entire transaction cost, which is a smoking deal. So they do the same in an assignment fee, Stephen. So why not do the same thing in a double closing? And I've had instances where I've had them pay for both costs because they want the property so much. It doesn't always work that way. My recommendation is you pay the first closing cost, you eat it out of your profit, and then the second one, you push it off to your end buyer that's funding the deal. Awesome question, Aaron, and I really appreciate it. And I was waiting for this question. Do you need two different contracts to do a double closing? The answer is yes, 100% yes. Remember, A to B is its own contract. B to C is its own contract. You're just blending it together and flowing the cash around. So if you have any questions, I did an illustration and refer to it, screenshot it, whatever you need to do, pause it, and it will kind of like, I'm a visual person. So sometimes like I can talk to you, but sometimes if you can see a flow chart and you understand how it works. The main thing is you guys got to understand, you have to understand the mechanics of how to work with the title company, particularly with the escrow, and how to train your cash buyer to cooperate on these deals. They have to be 100% compliant. If they're not, charge them the difficult cash buyer fee if you want to work with them, and that's it. Yes, I'm telling you, I've had a difficult cash buyer come to me 48 hours later. He goes, okay, I'll take that deal now. I go, oh, it's changed. I'm sorry. You didn't lock it up. Because I know he or she's going to be difficult and my staff is going to like get ticked. And then my title company gets mad at me. So I'm going to make sure there's extra profit in there to take care of everybody that helped me out with the transaction. Doesn't always work out that way, but I love it. So Craig, man, these questions, man. See, this is how you get your value on a mastermind without paying a $30,000 fee to ask questions just like this from someone who's done the business 20 years. Craig's asked, Rick, if you only have big corporate title companies in your area, what kind of questions do you ask to find which one is most investor friendly? So here's what I'm going to tell you, Craig. Go on my the Flip with Rick YouTube channel and just search in there cash buyers. And I do an entire video on how to vet them. It will cut to the chase on you for it. And it's the best way. It's so important. Guys, do not spend time coddling cash buyers. You only need one. Okay. And they constantly change. The theory where people say, go out and get 500 or 1,000 cash buyers, some of the worst advice I've ever heard in wholesaling. And you guys have been programmed for the last almost 10 years on it. It is the worst advice I've ever heard in this business. This is not a numbers game sometimes. The numbers game's on getting your list. That will always be a numbers game. But your cash buyers, you actually have to vet them, because most of your cash buyers are a lot of tire kickers. And here's the worst part is most of them are wholesalers that want to do nothing but daisy chaining. If you've never heard of daisy chaining, it's meetings where they go out and find other wholesalers deals and try to match them up with their cash buyers. This is also known as a realtor. This is 100% working as a realtor. I do not advise it. I did it in the beginning, but it was a different world. And guys, we never have more than 75 to 100 cash buyers in our database. And by the way, it churns over every 3 months. So if you have a 500, 1,000 piece cash buyer thing, listen, me and Zach teach you how to go out and get 100 cash buyers. I'll tell you that 100, you're probably gonna have to whittle down to 20, 25 when it's said and done. And then to go, like when you get to the property, only 4 or 5 are going to fit the bill for it. So you're better off just trying to find out and talk to your cash buyers. But I'm talking about 5-minute conversations, not like an hour. You do not need to spend that much time with them. But if they do not have a proof of funds and they can't show it to you, run. Just get out of there, because they're just going to waste your time. So Craig, that I know, sorry for the long answer. YouTube search cash buyer in the Flip with Rick channel, and I explain it in grave detail. And I think Zach does several videos too, because I push him on how we work with our cash buyers. Guys, I am not a fan of getting a ginormous cash buyer base. For some reason, over the last really 8 to 9 years, there's this new wave of teaching that came. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped doing the coaching model, because everybody was teaching the exact same model. Go out, get a ton of cash buyers before you even get a deal. Go get 500, 1,000. How the hell are you going to do that? That's ridiculous. You're going to have to, so you're going to start a relationship off lying to people. It's wrong, guys. And you are constantly going to be on the, what do they call it? The hamster wheel, the rat race, because you're going to have to do it forever. It's exhausting and it's not fun. You're better off going out, putting out some marketing, either social media, whatever have on an active property you have. Find cash buyers that are qualified, meaning they pass the snuff test, proof of funds, they're cooperative, and they want to buy in that area. And then you can whittle that down and usually get 10 to 20 people, and you find the best buyer for it. And then you can have a cash buyer for the rest of your life. Very rarely, the most properties I've ever sold to one person is about 45. They all die out on you eventually. You will never have a cash buyer for life. So getting 500, 1,000 like makes you feel good. You can brag about it. It doesn't do you any good. You only need one. So starting out by lying to them and then constantly spending all these ridiculous hours fishing for cash buyers, and you don't even have a deal, it's terrible advice. And dude, I could go on and on. Like, it just, everybody wants to run hard with the numbers and nobody wants to get down. How do you last in this business 20 years? I don't know. Maybe you listen to someone who's been in the business like 20 years. I'm telling you, you have to get past a transaction with people. Like, we all want to just click a button and do a transaction. The reality is real estate will always be people intensive. It's becoming less people intensive, and the people that pay attention and actually listen to people will get amazing deals. So many people are trying to shove deals. When you guys sit there and email and SMS to 500 to 1,000 people on your list, actually, I have it right here because I'm on every wholesaler's list. See if I can pull it up here. They just constantly send me the deal. Like, I don't even know these people. They send me deals and I just track their area codes and I use it as a cheat sheet on how I can penetrate their market. They make my job really, really easy. It's so easy. If you're going to be, you don't vet me, you know, I'm like a full-blown wholesaler, real estate investor. Why would you have me on your list? It's a terrible idea. It's just a terrible, terrible idea. Now, the guys that call me, hey, Rick, Zach, we got this deal. I give it to my guys. They underwrite it. Either it works or not. And then if we get a deal and it works, then we're going to pay attention to that person and we're going to try to develop a relationship from them. It never lasts like forever, but you never know. So good questions, man. Okay. So I think I answered this one, but since we're talking about double closings, Adonis Lopez, how you doing? Is asked, do I need another contract besides the seller contract and the end buyer assignment of the agreement and doing close? So number one, there's no assignment in a double closing of any sort. Okay. An assignment basically takes you straight from the seller to the end buyer, and you are the peanut butter in the middle of that sandwich. So you guys know how I love a PBJ. I am starving right now. So we're not going to start talking about how to build a PBJ because you guys, I just love a good PBJ sandwich. And if you're one of those people that do not put a lot of peanut butter on the sandwich, we're going to have a problem because I like it nice and fluffy. What's the point of biting in that fluffy white bread with that soft, gooey peanut butter with that beautiful jelly? And so there's an argument to use grape or strawberry. Let me know. You see, you guys, my ADHD, which is my wholesaling superpower, is I try to use to my advantage because my brain works very fast. And but there's no assignment in this. So there's an A to B contract and there's a B to C, and you're tying them all together. So an assignment's when you go straight from the seller to the end buyer and you facilitate the transaction and capture the peanut butter in between. Hopefully that makes sense. So Coach says, does the seller and the buyer have to be at the double closing? No, because remember, you're going to close them in escrow. So they're like, you can pre-sign up to, I believe, 5 days. I've done as long as a week, but most pre-signings are done a few days ahead of time. So, and then once you get a reputation, you can actually do these things all online. Once you establish yourself. So MJ says, how do you deal with an inspection for a virtual deal? So number one, you have to have an inspection period because you don't know all that market well. And we always advise if you can work with someone locally. So hopefully you're doing virtual in an area that you're somewhat familiar with and you have somebody you can work with, or you can at least hire someone, usually pay them $50 to $100 to go out and take pictures for you. And you can do it that way. So if you go on the YouTube channel, Zach has an entire series on how to do virtual deals. And I suggest finding him because he's really, really good at doing those deals. So try that out here. Okay. If you guys, let's see here. Okay. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, so we're getting a little off subject, but I'm fine. Guys, we are opened up. So we got 55 minutes, whatever. If you don't ask a question, I can't help you. The reason for asking the questions like this, because everybody can learn and you guys can go back and refer to this. So instead of me sitting down and gaining 200 pounds, having lunch with every one of you guys, this is the best way to facilitate our time together. So by the way, I do love live events. People are like, hey, Rick, can you do something live? Right now, we're just trying to build our community and connect with as many people as possible. So the more you guys share this, the more you tell people, hey, check out Flip with Rick. They're actually teaching wholesaling for free and there's actually no catch. Wholesaling is really basic, guys. It's not complicated. I've been doing this for 20 years plus, and somehow we're selling the same secrets from 20 years ago at a huge discount. And the quality of people teaching it now, there's some very reputable ones, but there's a lot of people doing 4 or 5 deals and they're teaching this business. And I don't know. I just think you should do this for a while. You got to get some clout on your belt. And I'm okay with the people like that do it for a living. They're like legit, but you guys have choices. It's up to you to vote how you want to spend your money and what you do. This whole skin in the game, it works for properties. I'm telling you, how you learn information today is completely up to you. Okay. The traditional schools, everything's changing. I think I saw the handwriting on the wall in 2013. I just saw it and I just sat back and said, this is absolutely crazy. There's repackaging the exact same information. And now we have this thing where we've been ultra aggressive. And listen, I've been part of it too. The cold calling, the SMS, I love all that stuff, but we've pushed the envelope through real estate coaching so hard that we've created a lot of the problems in our industry because there's been no policing on a lot of these marketing activities, meaning, hey, you can flip a house, you can sit on the beach, there's no risk, there's no money, and you'll make $1 million doing it. That's just not the truth. It takes time to get established in this business. And what I'm trying to tell you is you have choice. So Peter has a question. Rick, few possible deals in a 55 and older community. Do you have any advice on these typical deals? So number one, if you have someone 55 or older, you're built in. So I'm 52. I'm almost built into it. It's like embarrassing now. But I will tell you this. I avoided these things like the plague. I'm telling you, I have changed my mind in the last probably 7 years now. I've probably done about 50 of them. It is a little bit more cumbersome. So if you want to learn something, a 55 and plus and older community, did you know that not everyone has to be 55 and older to live there? And I learned this the hard way. They have to leave a percentage of the community open to the public, meaning if a 25-year-old wants to live there and if they haven't met their quota, they have to let them in. They will make it difficult on them, but they can do it. Okay. What that percentage is, it's usually somewhere between 10% and 20%. So meaning 80% of the community has to be 55 and older. And by law, a lot of them have to leave 20% or more. That's how it is in Florida. I can't speak for the rest of the country. Okay. They have a lot of rules. That's the real problem. It's heavy HOA. So if you could do a double closing with the end buyer's funds on a cash deal, 55 and older is perfect for this type of transaction, because here's the problem. You typically have to fill out an application, $100 to $200. Okay. Then you have to physically meet with the board. I swear I've done this at least 25 times personally when I didn't have a choice. And the whole point of the board is to kind of discourage you. And then the board only meets once a month. And God forbid there's a thing going on in society. Sometimes they only meet once every 3 months. So this can cost you a lot of time and energy. And then you get approved, and then you got to do a background check. Sometimes they ask for financials. It's crazy what they ask for. And this is why it shies away most investors. The main thing in 55 and older, don't let the age discourage you. The main thing you have to look for is, do they have any rental restrictions? So sometimes it's at like a 1 year. I've seen them as long as 2 years and even 3 years. Number two, sometimes they have a resale clause that you can't resell it in X amount of days or years. If they have hard rules like that, avoid them like the plague. If they don't, and it's a nice community and it's typically they're affordable housing, like go for it. But the problem is you have to do an application, and then that takes you 30 days. And then your new buyer has to do an application. I just did a deal last week. Okay. On this type of deal, and we did it via assignment. And then I had my new buyer fill out the application, sit in front of the board, because I didn't want to do any of that crap with me or any of my employees. And that's a great scenario for an assignment. A double close, sometimes a little bit challenging because of the application fees, because most of these HOAs, you have to be approved to get the deed in your name. And also the other hit is sometimes they try to refuse LLCs and companies from buying in there. I challenged somebody recently on this and I won, but I had to get an attorney. And HOAs try to strong arm a lot of things. So just make sure that you can resell the property without a hitch and there's no rental restrictions. So let's see here. So KG, the answer is yes on that. If you guys want to learn more on how to do that, we're working on quite a few deals right now. Remember, you got to have a deal that's under contract. It's not daisy chain. You're direct to the seller, and that you, let's see here. And you got to be able to work on the deal. So here's, they go, hey, Rick, what's your catch with JVing? I want to do deals like in all states. Here's the catch. I'm not charging you a coaching fee. I'm not charging you a fee to submit it. So a lot of people will charge you a fee up front. That's used as a filter so you don't submit a lot of junk. So if you're going to submit something that doesn't even slightly work, your deal's probably just going to be eliminated. We're just saying no. Okay. I probably save you a lot of aggravation. But if you have a deal and you want to work with us and split it, I'm not buying your deal. Like, I just, full disclosure, we don't buy your deals. We try to work with you and show you what we would do to get that deal sold. And the idea is you get more of one-on-one learning with us. And so those of you that really desire to work with us one-on-one, because I don't offer coaching, because I just have a different way of creating my legacy. I'm not saying coaching's wrong, but so if you want to work with me and Zach like one-on-one and talk to us on a phone call or a Zoom, submit a JV deal. Oh, well, Rick, I got to split it with you. Think like, who else offers? Take the word learn. You'll learn with us, and then you drop the L, and then you'll earn. Nobody offers this program. I know it for a fact. So there is a fee involved in it, but you learn a lot. And then if you want to establish a relationship with me and work with me, I have probably a dozen, a lot more than that. That's going to be embarrassing. I have people all over the country I work with because we work well together. We have fun, and I'm an outside of the box thinker, and we find ways to put deals together. And I'm like friends with a lot of these people. I have amazing relationships, and that's what I'm looking to find with it. So not everybody qualifies for it, and I get it, but yeah, absolutely. I don't know much about PA. I know it's cold there right now. I'd love to hear what the temperature is. So we won't get in the whole temperature swap thing, but man, great questions. So, okay, let's see here. Rolling along, guys. We got like another 40 minutes, man. I need questions. Let's see here. If you guys are new to the channel, check out freewholesaling.com. Everything you need to know to get started in wholesaling to make six figures without spending any type of money on a guru or coach. Remember, you vote with your time. You definitely vote with your pocketbook and your wallet, and I'm not taking it from either one of you. So let's see here. Cameron says, how do you wholesale a seller finance deal? It's remember, you're selling the deal. So if an awesome financing comes along with it and people don't have to qualify for bank financing, you just increase the value of the deal. So Cameron, like, think about it. What type of person would buy that deal? Somebody that's got some shoddy credit, maybe somebody who went through a divorce, has a challenging thing. There's a lot of executives who make a lot of money. They went through a divorce. There's credit shot. They are perfect for this because they'll leave you a large down payment, and they would love to work with any type of like financing, subject to, seller finance, wrap, lease option. Like, there's standing room only in my market, and I guarantee it's in yours too. Anna says, here in Massachusetts, it's very difficult. Can you please help me? So it's going across your screen right there. I can't offer you any more help. I'm not asking you for a credit card. Start there. I promise you, it's the most extensive wholesaling course out there, and there's no catch. All you have to do is submit your email. That's my bribe. I get your email, and then we communicate, and I tell you about events. And by the way, we have a really cool event coming up. I'm not going to tell you, but it's probably like a day away, and you guys are really going to enjoy it. So it's all about providing value to you and share everything we know on this in wholesaling to get you motivated sellers. So Kazak asks, can a cash buyer go behind your back and go direct to the seller? Is that legal? And could you lose the contract? So Kazak, the key is developing the right relationship with your cash buyer and having the right contracts. So there's two ways they can do it. First of all, if you have an assignment agreement, which is the most what we're talking about, if you use our assignment agreements in freewholesaling.com, it stipulates in the assignment agreement, if you contact the seller via in-person, email, SMS, text, or phone call, any type of contact without the written permission of moi, which is you forfeit your deposit and the deal's dead. So if they do it, they're done. They're over. I'm not going to tell you to sue them and stuff like that, but you just move on. Remember, if you're going to sign a contract, they have to take all the rights, all the encumbrances with that contract, and then they have to agree to your assignment contract. If they don't agree to that assignment contract, and I make them initial that part, especially, hey, if you want to get cute and go around me, but why would they go around you if they already have an agreement? So if they're going to lose their deposit, they typically won't do that. And if you're doing a double closing, I mean, can they do it? But like, what are they going to do? The problem is it puts the seller in harm's way because the seller can't enter into two contracts legally. So I've had it happen multiple times where the seller entered into two contracts because an unethical wholesaler said, listen, I can get you more, right? That's always the argument. I'll get you $5,000 more. Just do that. And then you just call Rick and cancel it. So I get a call. I go, hey, listen, I just want to cancel my contract. I'm like, Beverly, it doesn't work that way. We both have to consent to release. Has something changed? Because I'm still ready to go. We're ready to close. We're closing in 2 weeks. We have an agreement. They've already pulled title. I have a deposit. So what's going on? Am I missing something? And that's usually when they go, well, this guy talked me in. I go, well, here's the deal. You can't sign two contracts, Beverly. And the first contract's going to supersede that one. And I don't want to get in a legal argument with you. So I suggest you unwind that contract. And I'm going to go ahead and fill the title company out. And I'm going to do what I have to do to protect my legal interest if you do not resolve that contract. And that's it. So a lot of times if you tell people up front, here's guys, like most of the time, all the problems happen when like you're talking to someone and you're like, you connect with the seller and you don't write a contract. And then like I used to do this in the beginning. Guys, different world back then. I don't know if people are just more credible and they did what they said. I would bring in my buyers sometimes before I had it on a contract because I was uncomfortable with the price. Because you know why? I did not want to obligate a homeowner if I could not close on it. And when the price got tight, I bring in my really good cash buyers like, what do you think of this? Well, it blew up on me a few times and I learned my lesson. I always have it under contract first. And I explain to the seller, you can only enter into one agreement. Once you do that, they understand they have liability if they do something like that. Because wholesalers are some of them are really good talkers and they go, no. You just call Rick and it'll go away. No, I'm not going away. I'm not walking away because someone's paying you more. If you decide to stay in that home or you have a family event, like I'm a reasonable guy. I've had plenty of people back out on a contract on me. And if the reason is right, I always tell everybody comes in contact with, do the right thing. What would you do if it was your mother under contract? So say somebody got sick in the family and they said, listen, we were going to move, but things have changed. They're going to move in the house, take care of them. I'm like, yeah, like I get it. Like just be a human being and then it will come back to you tenfold. You got to do that. Like, what are you going to make them close with? You can sue them, but like when you get in front of a judge, have fun. You guys, I'm telling you like this, your contracts, here's how I look at every contract I write. If I had to sit in front of a judge, would I feel comfortable with the agreement I have? And if the answer is no, I won't do it. Because guess what, guys? I've sitting in front of a judge plenty of times. In 20 years, I'm not bragging about eventually you get sued in this business. And like I learned when I was a young man, there are certain things, the handwriting was on the wall and I didn't take the hint. So now I'm very, very careful. I do not want problems. It's not so much that I'm worried about a legal fight. It's the energy, the time, and the money it takes. So an average lawsuit just to defend yourselves like 30 to 50 grand, even when you know you're 100% right. So you got to try to avoid lawsuits. Guys, the only people who win in a lawsuit is the attorney. So 50% of attorneys are proven wrong every day in the courts. I just don't want to be there and do it. They'll all take your money in your case. That's crazy, man. So the mediator trying to get me up to 100 likes. Let's do it. I love it, guys. When you give likes, it reaffirms that the channel's the right message for what we're talking about. And guys, I only talk about wholesaling because I love it. I've done it for 20 years. I do a lot of other things, but I'm going to be honest with you. I can't teach something that I'm not really like, I'm better than 98% of the population at. So, God, I love the outdoors. I love fishing. I love anything with physical activity. I love extreme sports. I love weightlifting. I've taught my son, my kids, the importance of taking care of your body. And especially when you get like 50 and older, guys, what are you going to do with all that wholesaling money if like you're just, you hurt? And so I want to make a quality of life as much as possible, but I'm learning every day. And I'm not an expert on it, man. I got like my own struggles, just like everybody else on this is in the channel. So whoever you're taking advice from, make sure they stay in their lane. The minute they start trying to find you another asset, run. Like I don't understand it. The minute they give you religious advice, run. I don't understand this part of it. I know my lane to stay in. I know what I do best. I know what I love to do, but like I'm not the best at it, and I strive to do it every day. So find a career. I hate the word career. That's a terrible word. Find a business like wholesaling, whatever it is, that you're in control of your financial freedom and the freedom of spending time with your family, and then go do what you really love to do with that money too. But I love people and I love talking to people. So I think wholesaling is like a really good fit if you like enjoy people. Someone said the other day, what if you don't like talking to people? And I go, well, you're going to have to take some serious consideration because you're going to have some huge challenges. There's no other way to do it. So awesome. Like he says, another great gem, Rick. I would never thought about the premium on a difficult buyer. I would much rather move on to another. And that's a good way to move on. So I will tell you this. Everybody knows in my town, I have a difficult cash buyer premium. And my title company, I'm telling you, title companies have difficult buyer premiums too. I see it all the time. Because I look at HUDs, I'm like, oh my God, look at that number. I'm like, and they go, oh, she's so difficult. Like, this is the only, like, they don't want them coming back. And I'm the same type. If you really want that property, I'm going to charge you for it, but like, I never want to deal with you again. If you're willing to pay the fee and follow my standard operating procedure, then we'll do it. If not, just get out of my hair. The beautiful thing about wholesaling real estate is you choose who you get to work with. Now, there's one caveat to it. Motivated sellers, we have to take them when they come, but there comes some level where I've even called it a day. I just can't do it. So I once had a house. I promise you, this is a true story. They offered me the house so cheap. I walked in and I was actually covering for one of my sales. Actually, Zach was doing sales. I think he was 18 or 19 when we were doing this. And he decided to go on a trip with his friends. I'm like, okay, well, I'll cover the sales floor. And we had another acquisition person in the South. So I'll go up there. I'll visit Dad. We'll have a good time. I walked in the house. I threw up in my mouth, and then I threw up outside. And it was the most disgusting. I've seen a lot of bad houses, but I can't even describe what I saw in this house. There's feces, there's cockroaches. It's so bad. They had an extension cord with the fridge outside in the rain, not even covered. And she offered me a ridiculous price. And I go, you know what? I didn't get in this business to do this. And I probably made an immature decision. I just walked away from it. It was disgusting. My friend bought it and he made like 20 grand on it, but I wouldn't, like, I have a limit in what I'll do in this business. I mean, so we have to work with motivated sellers, but sometimes there's a limit. So here's a recommendation. If you're dealing with a difficult house or like a really smelly, nasty one, which means you're going to make a lot of money, just go out in the front lawn. They know how bad it is. Do not stand there in that stuff. Because I didn't get in this business to throw up. That was embarrassing. I chewed Zach out about that for 20 minutes. I go, you know what you left me with? He goes, are you kidding me? You walked away from it? I'm like, I'm telling you, man, like I couldn't breathe. It was disgusting. So difficult buyer premium. You guys choose the buyers you work with. Do not put up with any of their crap. It will always blow up on you. And remember, they're putting their best foot forward. And if they're kicking you in the teeth in the first minute or two, dude, wait till you get to the closing table. It's painful. I've had such ridiculous demands. It's ridiculous. Here's an easy one. One of my favorite questions. And by the way, I get this all the time. So this is a question saying, Rick, how do I comp a difficult property? Meaning I can't find good comps for it. So it doesn't matter if it's a mobile home, a manufactured home, a single family home, heck, even a duplex. Here's what you need to understand. If you can't find comps and it doesn't make sense, you need to do what we call reverse comping. Reverse comping is take the cash flow of the property. If it's a single family home like this, like a modular home or a mobile home or a SFR, figure out what the rents are in the area. It's real simple. Call around the signs. use rentalmeter.com and figure out what the rents are. And you can use what we call, some people call it the 1% rule, the 10% rule. It doesn't matter. So if property rented for $1,000 a month, you would never pay like more than $100,000 for it. That's on a single family home. That's why mobile homes are so attractive. I bought in a whole series of mobile homes because I found out where the Amazon, what do they call it? Distribution center was going. And you know how I found out? I got caught in traffic. So guys, a lot of times your research, if you just open your eyes, see what's going on. I got blocked by 50, those prime blue trucks. I'm like, what's going on? And Zach went to me, he goes, man, I got caught in that. Like, did you get all those prime trucks? I go, what's going on? So we did a little research, a little drive around, find out they opened up this huge distribution center and they had like 1,500 employees. Guess what? They all needed within a 5-mile radius a place to live. Rent shot up. The mobile homes missed out on the park. We found mobile homes where they own the land. And so we were buying them at $10,000 a pop. Right now we rent them for $1,200 a month. So what I'm saying is look at the cash flow on it. Okay. The easiest way to calculate what you can come up, and this is how you calculate a cap rate, AKA an ROI, which is a return on investment, is take your rents. So say it was $1,000 a month times 12, that's 12,000. Okay. I want you to take 2 months and remove it off of there, which gives you some room for, because you're going to have some vacancy. So you got $10,000 off minus the average cost of tax and insurance on that property. And that will get you your net number. Then you divide it by the price you think it should be, and that will give you a return on investment. So if I'm not great with numbers off the top of my head, so that I didn't get the math wizard like my son, is if you wanted to get at least a 10% return, you would have to get at least like around $1,000 a month in rent. Okay. And that's considered like decent. The problem is when you get around like really, and the smaller the number it gets, so you can play with that purchase price. So if your standard is, and remember, the lower the return, the higher the price. So just do the math. If you guys just Google it, you can do, it's called the cap rate, which is capitalization rate. It's the same thing as ROI. You take the net of the property, you take the income minus expenses, and you divide it by the price, and it'll give you a cap. Now, for those of you that skipped out on algebra, this is where it's actually going to pay off for you if you actually paid attention in class. I did not, okay? This is just algebra coded for real estate. So you can switch the numbers around. You can do the denominator, numerator. You do not want me giving a math lesson. I'm way outside my lane in here. And that's how you calculate it. Once you establish what the cash flow is, then you can sell it to a cash buyer and go, listen, if you buy it at this rate, you'll get an X amount of percent return. And they all have a number in mind. Most investors love anywhere from 8 to 12% on properties. So you just find the sweet point. Mobile homes are going to go up higher to like 15 to 20, but don't use my example. I bought one for 10 grand and I paid it off in less than a year. So that's an incredible cap rate. And those are the deals I'm always looking for. But guys, so if you have a difficult property and you can't figure it out, figure out what the rent is, figure out what the net is, and then play around on calculating an ROI. So it sounds complicated, but it's really not if you think about it. And then that'll give you a starting basis of what people will pay for a property. That's how landlords do their calculations. So there's always going to be cash flow, and then there's going to be comps. Sometimes you just can't find comps because it just don't work. So I appreciate it. And once again, I can't undervalue how much I appreciate you guys spending time with me. I promise you, well, sometimes I get too big for my britches, but that's usually when I eat too much around the holidays. But like, I really enjoy what I do. Like everyone says, what would you do if you do wholesaling? I go, dude, I tried that. I tried the corporate world. I was the worst employee. I wasn't the worst employee. I knew how to follow directions. I just hated it. So I saw a study today. They said 60% of the people hate what they do for a living. Does that make sense to you? Like pisses me off. Think about that. 60% of the world hates what they do for a living. Like that just motivates me more to give everybody options on what you can do, because I'm telling you, I was a guy that took all the wrong advice from my parents. I love them to death. Okay. But it was bad information. We've had a lot of bad information up to this point. So here we are in 2022 at 6:35 on 2/9/2022, and you have no more excuses. All the data's in front of you. Okay. I don't care if you go to college or not. Actually, Zach finished college. We treated it like just regular education. I knew it wasn't going to give him the skills he needed to succeed in life. College is there to program you to go get a job job. Okay. If that's what you're going to do, I'm fine with it. Like, go do it, knock yourself out. You can actually do wholesaling on the side and make plenty of money. And I know plenty of people do it. There's not a one size fits all, but if you know 60% are miserable and nobody wants to punch a clock and people want more time with their family, if we haven't learned anything over the last 2 years, time is the most important asset you got. Money's important, but man, if you guys are not like my time, I'd rather you give me more time than more money. I'm sorry. That's my selfish move. And there's plenty of people who will take more money than time thinking they'll get time later. And I'm telling you, you don't get it back. You cannot put it in a bank. Money will help you buy things to solve a lot of life's problems. But I'm telling you, man, guys, your time's the most precious thing, and I do not take it for granted. So I do appreciate all of you guys. So I'm like, okay, let's go. Okay. Elliot says, Rick, what would you say is the best market for virtual wholesaling? The one you pick. Use listrei.com, and that's the data I use. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'm just telling you, through our PropStream affiliate, listrei.com, they have a thing where you can research the cash buyers. They actually have like heat maps and stuff like that. And I find it really to be the best way to research virtual markets, and then do small testing in the beginning. And then when you find some deals, go all in. And here's what I always say to this. The best way to find the best markets is just use all these gurus' information that teach people to go get 500 to 1,000 cash buyers, and then just reverse engineer their cash buyers list and find the best area codes. And it'll give you a roadmap where they're having success. And let their bragging be let them spend the money, and then you can go out and do deals without trying to figure it out for 6 to 12 months. So hopefully that helps you, Elliot. What's up, Italian Ranger? Yo, Rick, not a double closing question. Okay, I get it. What are your thoughts on buying index cards to send postcards to owners as a beginner? So it's kind of funny you mentioned that. I created a product a long time ago, 2012, 13, and it was called the handwritten postcard. And I had this exact idea. Okay. We figured out how to do it on home printers. We actually turned a room into it. And I hit it out of the market with it. I had a lot of success with it. And I went to a lot of people. I said, hey, what do you think of this? They go, it's a terrible idea. Only to find out they copied my idea, mass produced it, and put it in a coaching program. And I never got credit for it. And it is what it is. It was a learning lesson. But it's not a bad idea. But I got to be honest with you, Elliot, if you just do this, I'm going to do you a little bit of favor. Go to mailingmastery.com. I teach an entire course. I'm probably one of the top guys for direct mail in the country, and I know it because I've used it since 2002. And let me see. No. I want you to go to mailingmastery.com. It's everything I know about direct mail, and I don't hold anything back. And you're absolutely nuts not to use it. I suggest in the beginning, I tried doing the in-house, I tried doing the in-house printing. It's actually cost you more money to do it. You're cheaper to use a mailing house. And I'm just telling you, it is the truth because it works well. But like in the beginning, I used to pay a little old lady to hand address envelopes and send them out with like a little handwritten note. Now the note was photocopied for full disclosure, but hey, dude, like whatever works. Like, or you can put stickies on people's doors when you do driving for dollars. Works really, 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 really well. So if you guys are new to us, join us on Facebook. We have the fastest growing group, the most active group on Facebook for wholesaling, Wholesaling Houses for Real. We have rules on there. And if you break the rules, you're out. And I got people who publicly get upset. Oh, I don't understand what I got kicked out. We had someone that was a high profile person, great person, no problems with him, but he publicly announced, I got kicked out of the group and it's not fair. You didn't read the rules. There's no coaching, paid coaching allowed in the group. You cannot promote and spam the group, and you cannot promote negative energy in the group or you get deleted. Like, it makes sense, guys. I don't have time all day, and people love the group because we don't allow spamming. We are the only active group. Like, you're gone. Someone's job is just to get rid of your stuff. I don't understand it. You don't understand how you cannot start a relationship with spam. And I refuse to be part of groups that will not police it anymore. It's ridiculous because some coach taught someone, go to all the wholesaling forums and just say, give me your cash buyers. Who wants to work with me? Guys, the worst way you can do it is doing it that way. So go join the group. You're going to enjoy it because we cut out all that crap for you, and it's not easy to do. So good question, Italian. You can do it, but like there's a lot of service that'll do it for you, save you a lot of time and energy. So okay, Craig. I take one question on like gurus and I like move on because I got no more energy for this. So guys, you vote with your wallet and your time. And in my opinion, so let me read Craig's comment. It says, true about the gurus, not sure what I said. Had a phone appointment with one and they asked the generic questions and magically I was qualified because they wanted $5,000 for me to participate. My wallet was the only thing that they were interested in. I don't. So here's the problem. It's not even the guru's fault. There was a time where actually people would spend time and vet. The idea of the phone call, so you guys understand this, was to make so in the old days, if I took on a coaching student, I would spend like 20 minutes and find out like, okay, what's going on? What market you in? And honestly, it was never about the money for me. It was like, do you truly want to succeed? Do you really want this? Because nobody wants to coach someone that like just wants to cry and like whine the whole time. That was the original intent of the phone call interview. But somehow somebody's created a coach for the coaches, and the only qualifying event is if you have money to pay for my course. And guess what? If you don't have money, I got a financing plan. And the cost of my course is based on how much money you have in your wallet. Like, I just think, why not be transparent? So, Craig, you're correct. I appreciate you. Like, we're not here to call anybody out. I'm not doing it. I'm trying to push for change. If you have a quality program, I don't care what the price, it could be $100,000. Just put it on the site and let people know and let them make a decision. You can't have some slick salesman talking into it because they're driven by commission. And you guys know how commissions work. We see real estate agents doing this all the time, shoving properties down people's throat and not giving them the truth. So the minute you start this process and it's just about if you have money, are you really being vetted? You're not. You're being talked into a sales process. And I don't think everybody does it. I think some people have some integrity, but it's gotten ugly because here's the same thing. I've watched and heard enough of these phone calls from people on this group, and they're all the exact same questions. Like, who's driving the ship here? Guys, you've got to wake up. There is a revolution going on in wholesaling, and we're talking about the whole legislation side. What do you think caused all this chain reaction for negativity in like wholesaling? It's the promise of gold at the end of the rainbow. If you pay me X amount of dollars, I'll lead you the way. And the minute someone doesn't meet, so if Craig paid $5,000, got excited about it, and he didn't succeed, Craig, it's your fault because you didn't follow through. Now, a lot of times that is true, but maybe you were overpromised a lot of stuff. Guys, 90% failure rate in this industry. I mean, the idea of the interview was to find people to give everyone the best success rate as possible. And here's the problem, Craig, is even if you pay, say whatever, the program is $5,000, then you got to spend another $5,000 to $10,000 a month in marketing. Because I'm gonna tell you, dude, I don't care who you are. You spend $5,000 to $10,000 a month, I can get you a deal. Like, it's I just don't think it's that hard if you have the right skill set. So this whole thing where you have to do it, why does everybody have to do a phone interview? For God's sake, somebody just put their price out there publicly. If you have a quality product, look at Tony Robbins, an amazing man, and the guy has dedicated his life to helping people. And if you have a program that helps people, I will personally endorse you on here. Tony Robbins, every one of his programs from 1997 to $1 million is all public on his website. Why? Because he's built the reputation that he's going to deliver every time. So if you're confident in your product, then it should be no issue at all in it. But why does everybody have this exact same process? And I get a lot of crap in this business because I just never follow the crowd. And guys, I am not going to follow the crowd. I don't care. I'm friends with most of these people. A lot of people are reputable, but in the last 10 years, this business has changed massively. And really in the last 5 years, it's going downhill. This is why we're being attacked. Who's teaching all these people? And what are we teaching them if we're just say, hey, you got, give me X amount of dollars and you pass the interview process? It's terrible. So Saul says transparency is gold. I love this business. I will do anything to help protect assignments. I'm all about anything that helps the business, but we've got to be truthful. We got to work with facts, and we have to start being authentic. If you guys have not learned anything online, the BS, like go feel good, let's get all excited and start screaming. Dude, I'm all about like what to get you pumped. But at some point, you got to get down to business, and you got to be authentic, and you got to be like real. This, like, I just like the whole car flashy thing. Like, do you guys ever see, like, my lifestyle? I'm not here to motivate you with my lifestyle. Like, do you want me to show you my entire house? That has nothing to do with real estate. You're just like, it's like, oh, look at it. I don't understand that part of the business. So I like people who are transparent. I like people that help people out. I believe most people have a good heart in this business, but like when you start pushing the coaching business because you can make more money coaching than you actually, and you can, like, it's because it's easy. You can take 1,000 people and do it. Just make sure you're being responsible and doing what you're doing. So guys, it's up to you to ask the quality questions. If you're going to get on an interview, you better have some hard, they're going to ask you soft questions. How much money do you have? Are you committed? Why don't you ask some questions back? That's the best way to do it. And you're working with, like, I have a problem when you have a commission salesman trying to sell a coaching program. I get it. Everyone's running a business. Well, Rick, we're running a business. I get it. Okay. But the challenge is if that person's driven by commission alone, eventually the bad apples are going to come out of it. And that's where I got a little bit of a challenge at. So, okay, let's keep moving on. Let's do what we do best, helping people with wholesaling. Dana asked, are people still doing double closings? I do them every month. So, yeah. So a lot of you don't understand and learn it. And it's okay if you're not wrapping your head around it. That's why we have an entire library on YouTube. So you can go back and search all this stuff for free without anybody pounding you over the head. It's not a funnel. It's actually free. Me and Zach are the only people that are 100% authentic, free. Okay. I do not knock people for doing a coaching program, but it's like, you always kind of look over the head, like, okay, if I submit this, am I going to get an offer for that? And I appreciate it. So, okay, give me the last. I need likes. So let's see here. We got 12 minutes. So let's go in a little bit more of a lightning round. Let's shove in your questions because, man, you guys are piling them in. Okay. So Steven's back. Steven is utilizing a free mastermind. And just because it's free doesn't mean it's any less valuable. It's actually more valuable in my opinion. So he says, is it okay for the end buyer to fund the initial closing on the subject property? Investor-friendly title company understands that it does not mind. So it has to be a double closing because if they invest the initial one, how are you going to get paid? You'd have to be a realtor or you'd have to do an assignment. So if your plan is to do a double closing, go back to the graphic I showed. It's probably about 30 minutes into this live stream and just study it and you'll understand how the flow works. The point of a double closing is your end buyer doesn't see what your profit level is and you don't risk anybody blowing up. or maybe you have a contract that's not assignable, or there's difficult parties involved, aka an attorney. Guys, don't get mad if you're an attorney on here, but sometimes you guys can be brutally difficult. You prove it every day, but they can be an asset too. So I'm not knocking it. Or you have a difficult realtor, or sometimes you just have a difficult. Every now and then, sometimes you have a difficult tenant or seller. So each one is case specific. So Elliot says thoughts on pre-foreclosure. I mean, I hate to see people in pre-foreclosure, and I think this is one of the blessings of wholesaling to help people out in these situations to avoid these greedy banks. And I'll tell you, I hate banks. I do not hide it for a minute. Banks are all about money, greed, corporate. But I promise you guys, there's a lot of change coming into the banking industry in the future, and I'm really excited about it. So just help people out and make sure you are 100% transparent on anybody in a distressed situation. Is that another? So MJ says, hey, Rick, what does it mean when a seller says 1% down in escrow? I assume if it's a $100,000 property, that'd be $1,000. So I'm telling you, when you do these double closings, you got to go up to the 5%. Otherwise, you're going to risk the transaction. Eric says, should I let my cash buyer know the address if you have it under contract? Sure. Okay, let's see. Okay. I agree. Man, you guys are answering half the questions for me. So Twin Flame says, awesome information. I appreciate it. Guys, give me some likes before we end here, because you got to tune in the next day or two. You're going to see something like really fun. It's going to be well worth your time. I promise you the value is going to be like through the roof. I don't use the word value lightly, because remember, I'm not selling you a coaching program. I'm just giving you value. So I think the value is very high. So Chris asked a question. When talking to the seller and they want a company name, what's a good response? I'd use Chris Beebe. Listen, people connect more with humans than they do entities. The problem is we have to use entities to protect ourselves when we close on these transactions. So I always go from a personal standpoint. I've split tested this. Split testing means if I had a 5,000 piece mailer, I had a list, and I sent the exact same postcard, one with a corporation entity, I buy houses, and then Rick Ginn. The Rick Ginn smoked the other one every time. I've been doing this 20 years, guys. I'm telling you, you need to operate from a personal connection and then use your entity to facilitate the transaction. And that should help answer your question on that. Great questions, man. Always on vacation. Always on vacation. I love that, because I think you just described my life. Since the day I turned 33, other than the first 2 years of like really digging in this, in wholesaling, which a lot of you are in that journey right now. And I promise you, it gets brighter. It becomes a lot of fun. But do we have hedge funds as buyers? Absolutely. How do you connect with one? It takes a lot of work. So I wish more people would share the hedge fund buyers, because you're not taking business away from anyone that does it. But search hedge fund buyers and Flip with Rick channel, and Zach has a great video on it, because we just dealt with 2 of them. So Sean, awesome question. Rick, do you continue to vet cash buyers over time? Let's say a buyer. Yeah, you have to. You got to refresh the list, man. It's painful. It's painful, but it's like upkeep. So like, if it's like anything else, if you maintain it, it will have value. It's an asset. If you let it sit, a car, a boat, a house, and you don't maintain it, it winds up being a liability. Same thing with your cash buyers. Stephen put it. Yeah, just search hedge fund buyers on that. So, okay. Let's see here. Man, you guys are really good at everything here. So Jason said, this is great content. We need all to be more educated on the closing process. Guys, I'm just sharing you like a real life experience. I've had a lot of pain in this business, learning stuff the hard way. And my goal is to incite you first so you can get out of 60% of you. If you hate what you're doing, dude, take note of it. Life's short, man. I don't want you to be miserable. I was absolutely miserable with the company I work with. I hated every moment of it. So listen, if you like what you see, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And I promise you'll be notified every time we go live, and we really go live. And dude, smash that like button, man. I just need a little bit more love, and more people like us can connect, and we can have a lot of fun in what we're doing. So let's get going back to, let me get this off of here. I just want to clear the screen for everybody. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So lightning round. Let's go. I can see you guys are helping me out here. I'm almost. So Twin just submitted a deal. So my lovely people I work together on my team, get on it, or I'm going to call Twin Flames myself. But that's the idea, is if like we can get through it, it makes sense, I'd love to talk to you. But like we got to have, like, listen, I'm not taking 5-10 grand from you. So like you got to bring the heat. So I appreciate it, KG. I appreciate your time and your willingness. Guys, the more people we can bring in this channel and get this movement, we can make change happen. But you have to vote, number one, with your time, and then eventually you vote with your pocketbook. So since I'm not after your wallet or pocketbook, I just want your time. And if you're going to learn and be entertained at the same time, you're in the right place. So when we have, I'll be on with Zach. What is it? I'll be on Zach tomorrow. Probably going to do an extended show. We're going to have a lot of fun. And it's your favorite subject. I'm not going to reveal it yet. And I like to have fun with Zach because he's still my son. He's still my little boy. You guys seen him as like this grown man, but he is a badass in this business. But like, I don't know, if you have kids, you know what I mean. So let's see. Anna, thank you for your time. See, now I'm getting the hard question. So now we can have fun. What did I do for it? So there is a great Will Ferrell clip. I believe it was in Step Brothers. And he says they provide you, God, what is it? So I love the movie Step Brothers. Really funny. I love Will Ferrell stuff because it's just like anytime you laugh in life, it's just fun. Like you guys, no matter, like outside of wholesaling, if people can't make you laugh, like you gotta like, what the heck am I doing with this person? So I used to work for, Zach will probably kill me. I work for Enterprise Leasing. They give you the tools to be your own manager type of deal. But I used to, with a college degree, I used to vacuum cars in the South Florida sun in 99 degrees. And I worked my way all the way up to like regional manager. And I did that for 11 years. And I made a lot of money. Not a lot of money. It was a good job. And I didn't wake up out of my coma until I was 33. So if anything I can do is help you guys wake up and understanding life doesn't have to be average. I'm telling you, it can be absolutely phenomenal, but you got to bring it. The first thing you do is got to get control of your finances, and then you got to get control of your time. If you can't control those two, everything else seems very hard to do. And that's just my 33 years of working through it. It took me 2 years to be really successful in wholesaling. But I tell you, I did it right out of the gate. I did really well. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I am still learning this every day. Nobody knows it all. Any guru who tells you they absolutely know it all, they're completely 100% lying to you. Like, I'm just telling you, I'm not invited to any coaching conferences. I don't want to go. And honestly, they can play in their own pool and I'm fine with it. But because I do things differently does not make me the enemy. It makes me the innovator. And I'm sorry, change is coming. You either accept it or your business model is going to change. So we all talk about change. The industry is changing on the legislation side. Why shouldn't it change on the coaching side? And I'm all about pay for play, but when you got thousands of coaches teaching the exact same thing, all diluting the brand, the pricing, and the quality of the information, that's where I draw the straw. And I have no problems just saying it the way it is. And that's how I believe. So Yeah, I worked in car leasing. It's terrible. Like, I mean, I learned a lot, but I had no idea, guys. I followed. Most of you took advice from your parents, and let's be honest, we love our parents, but like they were wrong. Like they trained us to be little soldiers, to be productive, tax-paying employees, and the band-aid's been ripped off, man. It's up to you, and you got to make a decision in life, man. And let me tell you what. I'm going to close on this. I'll answer a couple more questions. If you do not like coming over to wholesaling or whatever change you want to do to change your life, you can always go back to your old life. It's there. I promise you, it will wait for you. It's actually going to keep trying to call you back. Come on, Rick. I've had it do it to me 100 times. And I remind myself how painful it was, how I felt like I wasn't in control, and I never had any time. I worked 78 hours a week, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I had to move. They tried to move me to like, I don't know where, I don't know if it was like Utah or something. Like nothing against Utah. I did like, are you kidding me? Like I love like South Florida, the sun, the fun, the Bahamas, the Keys. I love fishing. I love diving. I love the weather. I like skiing and snow, but I just, it's a different world, man. So it's like, and the most important thing to me is family. And if I can't be around my family, I ain't going to be happy. So I'm never going to change who I am to try to save a buck in real estate, to try to save on taxes or anything. Like it's just too important to me. And I hope that resonates with you. And if it does, guys, tune in tomorrow. I'll see you then. I really appreciate your time. This is Rick with Flip with Rick, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. It'll be me and Zach on here. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome